The Witch's Den by me, Insidious Nebula. When you think of your childhood home, what is it you recall? Warmth, love, the smell of home cooking, and the sound of laughs echoing throughout the halls. I'm sure for most of you this is the case. Your childhood home should awaken memories of nostalgia and happiness deep within your mind. It is the place of your upbringing, after all. My sister, Elaine, and I do not have this luxury. We are in our 30s now, but the presence of that wicked place still exists within both of us. Only malice was present in those four walls in which we grew up. All we have left are the bitter memories of that place and the bond we formed through surviving that hell. We even have a special name for our childhood home, the Witch's Den. We only speak about it to each other, and this name is sort of our own little code. Due to the trauma, it rarely comes up. Our parents were blissfully unaware of the evil that had soaked into every crevice of that structure. All we had was our trust and love for one another. We have tried to forget, but the darkest memories hold the most power over us, it seems. We were children back then, some 20 years ago, innocent and naive. We had experienced many odd things in the Witch's Den over the years. We thought nothing of it. Disembodied voices, lurking shadows, unexplained footsteps, and other noises, to name a few. However, all of this came to a head in the final year of our living in that house. On one night, a thunderstorm raged outside. Wind whistled against the window, and lightning occasionally lit up our room. The loud booms of thunder shook the walls intermittently. My sister and I shared a room up until we moved from that house when I was 13, and she was 10. Anyways, that night we had settled into our beds, and soon after, drifted off to sleep. Hours passed until I was awoken by an odd sound. A low, resounding creaking noise seemed to be coming from the foot of my bed. My eyes peeled open and my vision was blurry. The alarm clock read 3:36 a.m. I looked around the room as my breathing increased rapidly, along with my heartbeat. I saw nothing but the outlines of furniture in our bedroom and my sister sleeping peacefully in her bed. A boom resounded, and a sudden flash of lightning cloaked the room in a blinding light. In the brief moment of light, I saw long, bony fingers wrapped tightly on the wooden frame at the foot of my bed. I laid there in silence and noticed that Elaine, too, was now awake. Even in the darkness, she appeared to be looking directly at me. "Norma, there's someone underneath your bed," she stuttered nervously. "She's coming out." I could hear the fear in her voice. What met my ears next was the heinous tapping of fingernails on wood. Tap, tap, tap. Another clap of thunder was followed by another burst of light. In the brief moment, I saw her, a freakishly tall and gaunt woman standing at the foot of my bed. Her long, black and matted hair covered her entire face. She wore a pitch black dress that was torn and dirty, as if she had been buried alive in it. Most distinguishable was the noose that hung around her neck. Her arms were abnormally long and dangled in front of her. She had long fingers and even longer unkempt nails. The light receded, and there was silence. But this silence was soon shattered. A soft, raspy breathing filled the air, as well as indecipherable whispering. More thunder, and then another strike of lightning. In the light, I finally saw her face. Her yellowed and jagged teeth had shifted to form a sinister grin. Her eyes glowed yellow, and her pupils were slit like a cat. This was all I saw, before she lunged at me, and her insidious cackle filled the air. I felt her fingers tighten around my throat as she began strangling me and digging her fingernails into my neck. She wanted to kill me. She intended to choke the life out of me. This was evil incarnate, I was sure of that. Elaine was screaming and crying just across the room, a wreck of nerves. I clenched my eyes as tightly as I could while trying to fight this bitch off of me, just when I thought I was going to pass out due to a lack of oxygen. Our bedroom door swung open, and our light was flipped on, eradicating the darkness. When I opened my eyes, the witch was gone. My mother had me wrapped in her embrace. My father stood at the doorway. He looked pissed and skeptical. We told them what had happened, but they didn't believe us. I mean, who would, right? They assumed we were having nightmares, and that was the end of that. The normal thing for children. We saw in that moment that all we had was each other. Our parents did not believe in such things. I found out much later that Elaine had seen her before as well, peering from windows and skulking around the house, but never that close. Following this incident, my father got a new job, and we had to relocate. My sister and I were beyond relieved. We would finally be free from the grip of the witch's den. The day we moved out, as we were walking through the foyer to the front door, the witch stood triumphant at the top of the stairs, her grin visible, and her yellow eyes peering into our souls. That cackle, that damned cackle meeting our ears one final time as we closed the door on that chapter of our lives. Elaine and I left behind that evil place, but as I've said, the memories have remained. 20 years later, my sister and I are still terrified to sleep in the dark. 20 years later, we still feel as though we are being watched. 20 years later, the thought of sleeping still terrifies us both. The witch left her mark on us in one way or another. It's funny. Elaine was telling me the other day that she, her husband, and her children have been experiencing strange occurrences at her house. Mysterious sounds and whatnot. I've told her she might want to consult a priest. I really hope she takes my advice. The witch, if anything, taught us that the paranormal does exist. It should not be taken lightly. I write this as I'm laying in bed next to my husband. He is fast asleep and dead to the world. My son is also asleep. The house is quiet. My nightlight burns beside me, warding away the darkness. But it's the oddest thing. I swear that I hear a creaking noise somewhere in my room. Tap,